Welcome to Canadian Disc Golf Productions coverage of the Ontario Junior Disc Golf Championship. This Ontario Juniors Disc Golf Championship is the culmination of more than a dozen juniors tournaments held throughout the summer. The winners of each event won a place in today's final. Joining me in the booth today is Nico Forbes of Nico's Drive. Nico's Drive is a provincial junior disc golf tour, and Nico and his dad Carl ran more than a dozen events across the province, and this is the finals of the 10 and under mixed division. A big thanks to Wally, Carl Forbes, and the volunteers who made this tournament go. My name is Gabe Robinson, Project 15 is my course, and I'm thrilled to have this event running at the project. Again, Nico, why are you, an 8-year-old, playing above your age division?
Well, most of the competition right now is in the U10 division, but the point of the Nico's Drives is to grow competition in all divisions.
Well, today you will see the Project 15 layout, which is a shorter 15-hole version of the course, much more appropriate for young players. We will follow a card of extraordinary junior disc golfers as they first play Project 15, followed by a round on Project 2, the new short course next to Project 15. This is the card we will be following today: Austin, Nico, and Keegan. And because of the shotgun start, our card will be starting on hole 4. Project 15's fourth hole plays from this elevated tee, across the gravel pit, past several trees, and into a wide landing area. It's only 130 feet to clear the gap, but the wind is always tricky, and the shot is certainly intimidating. Get too far left and you flirt with thorny trees, too short and you have a challenging uphill second shot to this basket on a ridge, where wind is always a factor. This hole is right around 300 feet with a wind that can help or hurt depending on the gusts. It's a par 3 and favors the low forehand drive, though just about any shot works as long as you can clear the gap. What are you thinking on the tee here, Nico?
Well, I was thinking here, playing the wind as you said. So here is Austin with his nice forehand. So that's what I was trying to do.
Beautiful shot.
Yes, very nice. That's what you're trying to do on this hole, but there's always the backhand. Here, Annie a bit too much, accidentally burned into those trees, but I think I'll be fine. Keegan with a similar shot.
And he'll be digging out from a very similar spot to you. Here we have you on your second shot, getting out of trouble, nearly hitting your dad. And
here's Keegan.
Keegan's got a precarious perch and a pretty nice forehand to get out of trouble.
Yes. Here, I think one of the most important things in disc golf is making sure your line is correct. Because if your line is not correct, you can end up short, you can end up long, you can end up 30 feet to the right, 30 feet to the left.
Here we have a nice upshot right to the pin. That's his second shot. He should have an easy birdie. Pardon me, easy par. And you're digging out of trouble. What would this be your score if you made this putt? This is for bogey, right?
Yes. Oh.
Ooh, you caught some metal but didn't quite make it. And trying to clean up this one.
Oh.
Just short, catches the cage. And who plays next in a moment like this? The man closest to the pin, right? Farthest. So who do we have here? Is that you? You're next. This is your dad. Big shout out to Carl for organizing all of these events, getting a lot of kids into disc golf this year, including you, Nico.
Yeah. But
you've been playing a lot longer than a year. When did you start?
I could throw from... I could throw since I was 2.5. I started so I've been playing for 6 years. And first I actually threw left-hand backhands. I threw a right-hand roller, and now I can throw a right-hand forehand.
Amazing, and you're better than most adults I know. Let's move on to hole 5, which uses the last half of Project 15's third hole, which is called Gateway, for these trees and channels that one has to work their way through to find the green. Good drives will set up on the high right fairway, leaving a fairly open downhill second shot, or down here on the left where the drone's going. Drives that fall off too far left put you in another alley that demands a much more straight second shot. This is the first par 4 of the round for the juniors, and the hole plays about 350 feet, and wind is still a factor. And the tee shot is fairly wide open, but you have to play for good position and leave a good angle to this downhill tucked basket. Again, this is the last half of Project 15's third hole, and here in the junior layout, the P15-15 layout, we're going to see players throwing long and far and then trying to work through these gaps you see.
One of the strategies here is you see myself and Austin doing is throwing the anhyzer with an overstable disc, but you can also go to the backhand wide.
Austin's shot was great. He's deep and left. His forehand shape gave him a chance to land in the middle. What disc are you about to play here, Nico?
I am throwing an overstable Roadrunner so I can annie it to the left and it'll come back finishing right in the middle.
You're in a great spot. You should be able to see the basket from there, and the shot shape was beautiful. Here's Keegan taking a similar line. Doesn't look like he got quite the distance though. Keegan will be the first to play on the second shot, and you can see the basket deep in middle. He throws another forehand hyzer, skips out to a good spot in the middle, a little bit of work left to get that par.
Here I'm throwing a leopard 3 to hopefully land over the junipers.
These practice shots are crucial, aren't they?
Yes, very crucial.
Beautiful shot shape, a little bit of skip out into this leaf mulch on the right. I think you're competing for a birdie here.
Mm-hmm.
Austin's throw is very similar to your own. And Keegan has to clean up here. He's struggled a little bit on this hole, but it looks like he'll be throwing for par. You're a little further off than I thought. Good try. Slightly long and right. We'll see if Austin can clean up this birdie.
If you can drive, one of the most important parts of your game is your angle and your putting, because putting can save birdies, pars, and bogeys.
So true, and Austin just came up with a solid birdie, We'll watch Keegan try to clean up himself here. And there it is. A nice putt. So now after 2 holes, Nico, you're still sitting on that the effects of that double bogey on the first hole. Austin Hill will finish up at even. And we'll be moving on to hole 6 on the P15-15 layout in just a moment. Nice to see all these parents out helping kids out and carrying bags. How important is it to have a good caddy in the game of disc golf?
Very important because it frees up your muscles, and some pros it's actually hard for because sometimes I will carry my bag and it can put strain on your arm, which is not good for throwing.
Hole 6 is Project 15's 4th hole, which is called the Keeper for this giant white oaks branch that crosses the fairway. It's a fairly straight hole, and for the juniors, it's playing from the forward tee. You want to keep the disc in the fairway to make the second shot simple and try to get up onto the plateaued green. Plays about 200 feet and it's a par 3. Here's Austin with a beautiful shot deep and right, just about exactly what you want to do. How did your shot go here, Nico?
It went pretty good. I mean, decent.
I think decent's true. You just got over those rocks. That's one thing that's very important on this hole, is to get past that little row of rocks that guards the greens to give yourself a manageable putt. Keegan got caught up on the left side running into one of the early trees. Has some extra work to do to get to the green.
Dad.
There's Keegan's dad dodging out of the way of the camera. And that's why we call this hole the Keeper. Big save by the goalie. And now Keegan's got an awkward stance working around this big old oak tree.
I love to see new generations join the sport and their parents helping them. It's lovely to see how fun it can be.
And speaking of parents, there's your dad helping you out, carrying your bag, and helping you with what? Disc selection?
I prefer to putt with a Cobra, actually mid-range, but since the rim is so shallow, it's a nice disc and it has lots of glide.
Keegan up to the green, and now we're about to see Austin's second shot. A little bit of trouble around him, but looks like he has a clear line to the green. Birdie chance off the band. Excellent try. he'll come away with par. There's his par. And you have yet to finish up, Nico. Tough hole for Keegan. He collects his disc. We'll watch you finish the hole. I believe this is for par.
Yes. I used 2 different putters, as you may see. I used the rusty one for more windy putts, more pressured putts. I like to use my Green Cobra for more of a glidey and distance.
But that was a short, easy one, I imagine. And here you see the competitors and their parents, caddies, moving on to hole 7, which is another par 4, and plays from the short tee of Project 15's 5th hole, called White Birch, for good reason. It plays along this beautiful stone wall on the right, uphill to a narrow landing area, and past this enormous white birch tree. And even further uphill into a generously sized but sloping green. The wind tends to be moving from the players left to right, making all uphill shots much harder, and the big white birch always affects how you can go at the green. This today is a par 4. The basket is in the deep position. The hole plays about 340 feet and favors a backhand if you are playing for good position, but the forehand is the key to really attacking this one. So far in our group, we have most players playing forehands, although when you get into the adult groups, most people seem to try to throw the backhand. Still, I'm convinced forehand is the best way to attack this hole. It's hole 7.
Austin here throwing his forehand. One of the things you don't want to get is caught up like you see here, because you can drop down a bit hard with that birch. You don't want to fade left into those junipers. I here am throwing my overstable roadrunner. So the play is basically to put an anhyzer under that tree that Austin sadly hit, and you curve, skip up, and maybe be beside the junipers. So basically, I'm pretty happy with that shot.
This is a long anhyzer flex, and beautifully positioned into that little patch of fairway up ahead. I think that was a brilliant shot. Let's see if Keegan can follow you up with another good throw.
Decent. Got his nose up a little there, so he will be fading. Oh, just made it right before those junipers.
So tell me, when you go for extra distance, is that when the nose up tends to bite you?
Yes, because when you're going for extra distance, you tend to try and throw harder. You don't throw 100% always, because it actually messes up your nose angle. What I try and do is throw around 90%, and I actually learned at Worlds I could throw lots farther with way less energy, so I had a lot more energy. And so if you throw a slow, flat shot, is tend to be better, because all you really need is the snap at the end.
Oh, speaking of snap, you just put that one right on the pin. That was a beautiful second shot.
Thank you.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're looking at your third shot from right under the basket. Here we see Keegan trying to dig out of a little bit of trouble. He got a little bit far left into this sumac mess. And this is Austin for his third shot, I believe. He did pretty nicely coming out of that knockdown shot early on.
You know what? I feel like kids can throw farther than some adults, and they kind of have better putting.
Better putting, you say? Well, let's see if Keegan can putt. Oh, a near miss. This is Austin for his par. He's sitting just beyond. Good body position, nice flat release. Solid hole for Austin. And now I'm excited to watch you with a birdie attempt. Your dad helps you mark. You'll pick a putter. We'll see if you can make a 3 on this one.
Marking your disc is important because it actually gets you closer to the basket.
It does?
So, yeah, it gets you around 8 inches a bit closer.
Okay.
And
Good
for
birdie.
most pros, a shot will be like a meter longer because their arms are so long. So any distance you get, if you can mark it, drop it in, that's the play.
Right, because you actually release the disc past where your disc is marked, as long as you don't step past that disc.
Yes.
So this is hole 8 on the Project 1515 layout, and it uses the 6th hole of Project 15, but we've moved the tee way up the fairway to the edge of the forest. This hole works through this beautiful high canopy forest with mature trees that form many lines and angles into the green. The ground is rocky and mossy, and most people will have to make standstill second shots. Once you pass this fallen tree, you have to clear another set of tall trees to find an angle to this basket, which is set inside this big granite boulder, dropped here by glaciers thousands of years ago. This is another par 4. It plays about 300 feet, and the longest tee shots will work from the left to the right, which benefits guys like you who seem to like the forehand. Off the tee, you have 2 big channels to play through, and it looks like you might be trying to take the left side.
Actually, yes. For forehand, I'm throwing an overstable roadrunner once again. I like to go over to the the left, so that my roadrunner can come back. You can see myself and Austin are copying the same line. He throws it a bit lower, but actually if you throw it harder here, you want the dump back, because as you see as Austin shot, it hit a tree.
It's interesting to see you all trying variations of forehands here. Yours was a little higher and it dished out to the right pretty nicely, and both of the other competitors got caught up on the left side. They didn't leave enough space for that disc to work back to the right.
Yes.
Here's Keegan working from the left side of the fairway back into trouble on the right side of the fairway. And here's Austin with a pretty nice deep Anheuser forehand down the left side. He'll have a pretty good look at the basket from there. This is your second shot. Lots of space to work with. You're going to work down the left side of the fairway, it looks like.
Yes, this hole is actually very hard, because you can see sometimes a tree will help you, or a tree can hurt you.
Lots of trees to navigate, that's for sure. I think you're lying in a good spot. Here's Keegan for his, I believe, 3rd shot.
Yes.
Really nice shot. Low, level, good skip. He'll have a tricky uphill putt, but he's very near the basket. Here you are conferring with your dad. No practice shots. Right up to the basket. That's a beautiful image there. Keegan's got a little work to do. This is challenging for short people in general. And he had some extra trouble working out from behind that tree. He's landing right at the bottom of the boulder. Shouldn't have some trouble from there. Oh, bad miss for Austin. That's unusual for him.
This basket is actually very hard. In a tournament, I played in a tournament where the basket was on a rock, but you couldn't land it on the rock. I actually ended up taking an 11.
11?
Because I couldn't make the putt, but then I had to land it and climb up on the rock.
Jeez.
So elevated baskets are actually harder for juniors than they are for adults.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's even harder to get to. Look at you having to do some low-grade rock climbing just to get your disc out. Good finish by Keegan. You're going to be a good guy, help him out. Oh, there we go. Nice. A few bumps and bruises for our card, but we're moving on to hole 9. Hole 9 is called Pine Box, and it plays straight down a treed fairway and into a stand of tall pine trees. There's an area short and left of the green that collects wayward tee shots and leaves you with a tricky approach, but the best shots work well up into the green, into the stand of pine trees, maybe even skipping close to the basket. This is a par 3, it plays about 250 feet, and while there are several high lines that work well, the ideal shot is long and level with a bit of skip.
Yep. You can either take the right for the backhand. You can try something risky to hammer it, but you're likely to hit a tree. You can also try the forehand here, which I'm attempting.
Forehand seems to be your stock shot, and there are a lot of holes on this course that benefit the forehand. Good, level shot, no trouble. You'll be able to see the basket from there.
Should have been a bit higher, but...
Austin manages to penetrate down the left. A little bit of a skip. I don't think that's going to hurt him very much at all. It can be a bit of an intimidating tee shot when all you look at are trees. Keegan got a little bit lucky there. Nose up, bailed out right. But at least he can see the basket down the right side. Probably sets up for a bit of a Anheuser stabby shot.
And one of the most important things in disc golf is nose angle. Because you could throw something cranked over to try and get around the corner, but nose up, and it's going to fade to the left. If your nose angle is not forward, what I try and do is if you lean forward, you can't really, it's harder to get your disc above your head. So your arm tends to be in front of you, which lets your nose angle to be flat.
Makes sense. We just saw Austin with his second shot. A good birdie attempt. Missed it slightly. Should have an easy tap-in par. And Nico, you're sitting just behind the basket here, also competing for par. Austin for par. Routine par. Nicely played by Austin. Where is our hero, Nico? There he is. Again, marks your disc. Get stable. You're going to make most of those short ones, that's for sure.
Hopefully. And another important thing is your heart rate. You don't want to rush up and do your putt as fast as you can, because I like to take my putt slow, get my putter, line it up, so that you are more familiar with your putting stance.
Makes good sense. Here we jump on, for hole 10, we jump over to the 12th hole from Project 15, known as Cherry Hill, which plays up through a stand of trees and up this grassy slope that is home to several of the cherry trees. The first shot is for position, as one has to work through this screen of sumacs and hardwoods and into this gap beyond. The gap is on the left, and well-placed drive into the rising fairway gives you a chance to make a level throw across the sandy pit and up to this elevated green guarded by bunkers. This beautiful view from behind the basket shows you this par 4 playing 300 feet, and with the short basket position, for most players it's a controlled backhand, eager to see what a forehand group does off of the tee. What a beautiful shot, Nico. You flirt with the left side, and that late fade just sets you down. You should have a nice, square, level shot to the basket from there.
Yes, and one of the most important things here is to not try and flirt with the left side. If you could put an anhyzer over to the right, it would be nice because it swoops back and then put a grip lock there.
So this is your home course, Nico. How much of an advantage do you think it is, even as an 8-year-old playing with 10-year-olds, how much of an advantage is it to really know the course?
Well, I feel like it's a great honor, great advantage, and a great privilege to be able to host my home course as the junior provincials.
I'm touched and impressed that you feel that way, Nico. I'm thrilled to have you a part of this course, and my jaw's on the floor from the previous shot that we just saw from Austin. He just piped that forehand through the gap, and after a poor tee shot, he's really saved himself on this hole. Your second shot seems to have got away on you a little bit. You'll be off in the junipers here, and Keegan is still scrambling to get through this gap. But this particular shot seems to set up well for that forehand anhyzer. Oh, unfortunate, it just worked out to the right a little bit early. He's still struggling on this hole from the sumacs this time.
Yes, and there you can see the nose angle again. You need to get your nose angle perfect, because if you have it down too much, no matter how hard you throw it, it's going to hit the ground. If you have it up too much, well, then it's probably just going to go high and fade. And if you have it flat, though, it's better.
Great attempt at a putt over the bunker by Keegan. Unfortunately, just a little low. Here you are for your third shot, digging out of this sumac and juniper on the right of the green, but you're competing for par. And after just a brilliant second shot, here's Austin trying to make a remarkable attempt at a birdie with a tough stance, leaning out. What an incredible birdie after a very too far left tee shot. Keegan cleans up. Nico with a very straightforward putt. Well done. And we are on to the 11th hole. The 11th hole is the short tee version of Project 15's 14th hole. This one's called Pet Cemetery, as I've buried my old dogs here in a low area beyond the green. The tee shot is uphill and into the wind, and you want to get up this ridge without carrying too far beyond. The basket is near the edge of the pit, and getting up to it can be very tricky if you find yourself short of the green. Again, land too far past and you have to putt backwards towards the pit. The hole is less than 200 feet, It plays as a par 3 and favors the right-handed forehand shot if you can get the distance.
So actually, one of the really cool history things is Thomas Gilbert actually gave me a putting lesson here, which actually helped me very much with my putting. And one of the strategies on this hole basically is to kind of get your forehand, again, measure the nose angle a bit. Could have been a bit more, but that will be okay.
He'll be fine, yes. Tell me more about Thomas Gilbert giving you a putting lesson.
So we were playing around with Thomas Gilbert. Absolutely amazing guy, and absolutely more amazing game.
He's pretty good, wouldn't you say? Also a really nice guy.
He had to drop an eagle on hole 3.
Yeah. So Austin was a little long and right. You got caught up on the left side short. You'll have a tough footing putt back up. And here we see Keegan attempting to cross this gap. That one just fades out a little bit early. He should be able to see the basket, and it favors his shot shape. But these are tricky uphill shots. And remember, when you see elevation on TV or on a screen, it always seems to diminish how much elevation you're actually overcoming. This is higher and more difficult than it looks. Don't forget, folks. Nice pitch up. You've got a makeable third shot. Austin just tickles the chains for a missed birdie attempt after a great drive. And I think Keegan will be next to play. Nicely done by Keegan. Good cleanup. Nico, you're next. This is a par attempt after getting caught up on that pit edge. Par from there is very good. Well played.
Thank you.
Here we'll be moving on to the 12th hole. Currently Austin is sitting at -1, Nico at 1, and 9 for the remaining competitor. Hole 12 is a long uphill hole to a basket barely visible from the tee. This is a temporary basket position that breaks Project 15's 15th hole into 2 and demands distance and accuracy to avoid the tall sumacs on both sides of the fairway. The wind will affect most tee shots, and the prevailing winds tend to make the hole play much longer. This is a par 3, about 300 feet, but it plays longer for the elevation and the wind. And you will see a lot of right-handed backhand hyzers off of the tee, but with this group, I'm curious to see what the forehand play is. We come to see Austin with a big bomb of a drive, and Nico will have the tee box next.
Now, one of the strategies here is you can try and go over top, which may put you in hurt, may hurt you, but it also can help you. So right now, I believe I'm going to try and ante it down the fairway. And see, that can happen. So you ante it a bit nose up. But still, that will be okay from there.
It looks like you're celebrating. Did you end up in the fairway?
Yes.
Nicely done. The challenge for this hole as a forehand is the wind coming from the left to right, though this was a fairly still day. Left to right winds will really flatten such a throw.
There it is, the danger of going over top.
Oh, that was a gutsy play.
Oh, I can't believe you
Really
made it
nice outcome. But he had to throw right over all that sumac blind. That took some courage. Nicely played by Keegan. Here you are on the left side of the fairway, your second shot up to the basket. This should be fairly routine, just a smooth, slight anhyzer, I imagine. Oh, for a guy who's been talking about nose up a lot, looks like that's what happened.
Yeah.
A very nice second shot by Austin. He's looking at about a 4-foot putt from there. Keegan for his par. A little bit of trouble in front of him. He's going to have to contort to avoid those sumac branches. Very smooth practice putts. A little bit up and over. Missed it. You seem to have switched discs.
Mm-hmm. It's for wind, basically, because my green ones tends to be more glidey.
Excellent par 3. Well done. Even a little golf clap from your dad. And we'll see Austin step up to clean up his par after playing this hole pretty nicely.
Keegan cleans up, and while Keegan and Austin clean up, this hole actually is very brutal in the tournament.
Very brutal. Well, sometimes you want a little bit of difficulty. We're moving on to the 14th hole in the P15-15 layout, and this one plays from the 18th hole's elevated extra long tee. You throw down into the pit, and what are you saying? Did I get something wrong?
13th hole.
I think I did screw it up. 13 combines the Project 15's extra long 18th tee with the extra long 15th basket to make this short, dramatic downhill hole. You'll tee off from the side of the pit down to a basket guarded by a couple of small trees. Wind's always a factor here, especially for forehands, but backhands have to avoid getting blocked by this island off on the right as you stand now as the viewer. Nico's next. I understand you've actually aced this hole in a practice round. Is that true?
Yep, we went after the tournament and tried to ace it, and we aced it. So the play is here, which I'm trying to do, ace it again, sadly. It's harder, is to kind of put it around.
You have to hang it way out left, huh?
Yeah. Should have gone maybe something a bit more overstable.
So for those who don't know disc golf very well, an overstable disc will turn more or turn less?
An overstable disc will turn lots more. As you see, headwind and nose up also affect how much it turns.
There's Keegan, who got into a little trouble up on what we call the island. Nice putt down from that elevated position. And a beautiful putt by Austin to clean up. This is your second shot, right?
Yes.
Better take an extra moment, think it through, see if you can come away with a birdie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just works in over the edge of the basket. Nice shot.
Thank you. That one was definitely...
Your heart was beating there?
Yeah.
Again, this is where you do have to manage your heart rate, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got it wrong before, but this time I'll get it right. Now we're on to the 14th hole, which plays from the 18th hole's elevated tee, down into the pit, and then back up the far pit edge. The first shot should look for the flat ground right in front of the drone here, and the right side of the fairway is a bit more friendly than the left.
Yes.
The next shot is uphill, as you have to get back up this small cliff and onto the level ground above. As always, distance control is crucial with these perched baskets, as a longer leave means a much more challenging comeback putt. This is the last par 4 of the round and plays about 300 feet despite feeling a lot further. A bomb of a backhand tee shot can get you into a great spot for birdie or better, but a forehand for position might be the smart play. What are you thinking off of this tee here, Nico?
I was thinking, actually... Well, at first it actually is Austin, but right now I'm pretty sure I'm going to try and do something Anheuser like this. This is very nice.
What a crush. I can't tell where he landed, but it was deep and left and an impressively long throw. It looks like you leaned on that one.
Yeah, a little bit. But I think I'll be okay from there. Because actually, there's junipers there. And there's a big stick pile that hangs over the edge. And I landed in that. So, be pretty... I'll have something at the basket there.
Keegan with a nice play for position. He'll have good footing for his second shot. Nico, you're stuck on the edge here, with a bit of restriction in your backswing. But you throw smoothly and just get to the edge. I'm hoping that didn't skip down the hill too far.
No, I'm pretty sure it did.
Keegan now from good footing, forehand up the pit edge, and he's in good shape for a par, 2 more strokes for par. Your disc did not dribble down terribly far. Oh, I admire your courage. You went right for it.
Yep. Oh.
Austin had a chance at an eagle. I wonder why this was thought to be a par 4. Sometimes you have to give players a bone, so to speak. Give them a chance. Nice play by Keegan to clean up. And it looks like, Nico, you are putting for a 3, which would be a good birdie on this hole, especially after a slightly wayward tee shot. Nice birdie, Nico. Let's see if Austin can follow you.
Gee, pretty sure that was par.
That was par?
Yeah, 1.
Ah, my mistake.
So,
moving on to the 15th hole. This is the last hole formally of the Project 15-15 layout, but our competitors have a couple more to play at the front given the shotgun start. Uphill all the way, into the gap guarded by pines and junipers, and into this slot that leads to a basket positioned in an old row of stones that will stop most skipping shots. The ground falls way behind, you need to get your approach distance right. And every throw on this hole has to account for elevation. And you have to avoid the obstacles. This is a par 3, it's less than 300 feet, and an aggressive backhand hyzer will be one of the favorite shots for most right-hand golfers. But once again, we have a card full of forehand players, making this tee shot a little more tricky.
oh, Keegan there just got caught by a tree a little bit. Maybe he could have gotten more distance, but he probably would have been caught up in the junipers. Here, actually, in a practice round, I was parked. Annie did, and just went through the bushes. I was parked.
That flexing Anheuser shape can get really deep into the bushes, can't it?
Yes.
But a little further right and you might have been up by the basket.
I think I actually am, kind of, maybe.
Oh good, there's lots of room up on the left, so maybe you punch through. Austin played up to the basket on his second shot. Here's Keegan for his second shot, also in a decent position, but that is a tricky putt from where he lies. You found just the left side. You can see part of Project 2 in behind you. And now you've got a forehand putt, played safely into the rock pile. Intelligent play. And we'll see Keegan try to make a difficult par from that position. Safe play. Good attempt. Austin for par. Nice par. And that's a smooth, fluid putting stroke. There's Team Forbes coming up to clean up this straightforward par. Nice par. And we are on to what plays as the very first hole in the Project 15-15 Juniors layout. This hole plays through the beginning half of Project 15's first hole, which is called Stone Fence. A somewhat narrow tee shot opens into a wide landing area, and junipers and this old stone fence spices up the first landing zone as you position to play up to the elevated green. The basket is perched on a high mound protected by hardwood trees, but overzealous approach shots risk running away behind, and short shots require firm uphill putts. The hole plays about 200 feet, it's a par 3, and while many tee shots work, the right-handed backhand is usually easiest if you don't overthrow the landing area. Austin off the tee, he has some work to do. And here's Nico trying to go through the left gap, spills out into the open.
I'm throwing a pretty neutral originator here, just so I can get the ante. And Keegan here going to the left.
And as you can see off the tee, that left gap is made a little bit harder for forehand players. Backhand players like to use all that space out on the right-hand side. Aggressive second shot by Keegan. Nicely done. Still some work to do. You landed nicely, but you've got to work through a bunch of trees up this mound, which again, I assure you, is a little more intimidating than it looks here on the video footage. Oh, unlucky. Just caught that near tree and rolled back down to the bottom of this slope. Once again, folks, this is much higher than it looks. Ah, brilliant putt.
Thank you. That's a hard putt from there.
That's a tough climb too. Nicely done, Nico. You saved par after an unlucky second approach shot. See how Keegan does from the side slope. Beautifully shot. Real shout out to the cameraman. Well done.
Whenever you're ready.
And Austin trying to clean up. The way he's putting today, this should not be challenging. Nicely done. Smooth flowing putt.
Bit of a death putt there.
Bit of a what?
Death putt.
Death putt, yes. Yeah, he's throwing right back down to the gap towards the basket. Uh-oh. Nobody saw that. Here we are on what is called the second hole of this layout, which uses the last third of Project 15's first hole, and again runs along this very old stone fence row. You navigate a low, narrow gap, and the ideal shot comes into these trees and skips back to this basket, which runs uphill the whole way. It's about 220 feet, it's par 3, and again favors the long, flat, right-handed hyzer shot off the tee, something that these competitors have to work around given their forehand skills.
Oh.
Austin catches a branch, a low tree, but that flex anhyzer seems to be about the right play. You guys are both working up to the left side and trying to skip through. Beautifully done. Off the tee, that looks like you've snugged up right to the basket, but I think you still have some work to do. You'll have a longish downhill putt waiting for you when you get to the green.
Yes, for backhanders, this is a bit hard. There is the Annie with a bit of an overstable disc to come back, but there is the exact same shot, but with a forehand.
Keegan got a little unlucky, too far left, but he got very lucky with the kick. For the quality of his first shot, this is not a bad place to be, and he makes a very wise, simple, straightforward uphill second shot.
Oh.
Austin robbed of a birdie. So close, you can see he's visibly upset for missing that one. He did everything right. Here's that comeback putt that I suggested might be a bit longer than it looks. I think you're sitting about 12, maybe 15 feet. These ones can be a little bit scary. But not for you. Good birdie.
Thank you. That birdie is definitely what I needed.
Some confusion about who's to play next. Everybody being polite. Again, Austin a little disappointed in that one.
Can't blame the guy.
Moving on to the third hole, this is the first real ace run on the front side of the Project 15 layout, using the third hole and a shorter tee position. This one's called Charged Gap and dares you to throw out over the gravel pit and land on a narrow edge that slopes away. This hole plays less than 130 feet. It's a par 3 and sets up well for a courageous right-hand forehand out over the pit and back to land. But you have to stop the disc quickly to avoid a scary putt back towards the drop-off.
Yes, this hole is particularly tough, but a nice Annie forehand. Oh.
Ooh.
I actually know someone who aced this hole.
Really?
Went after a tournament, this tournament to be precise, and they aced it.
It's gettable. And for you guys, this is the last hole of the round, and Austin's going to be happy with that final tee shot on this first half of the tournament. 2 of the 3 players seem to be going right at the cameraman that time, but thankfully Wally survived the round unscathed. Little foreshadowing for you there. Nico laid up beautifully, and Keegan ran it. Hopefully that stayed up on the top side. It did. He's got a simple third shot. Good par by Keegan, who's sitting now at 11 over.
Actually, personally, I would prefer a shot in the pit than on the very edge, because you have to be behind your disc, so you'd have to be over the pit, which is actually a harder shot.
Makes sense. There you see our competitors clean up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. We will get together to do the second round of this tournament in a moment. That will be played on the new Project 2 layout. Austin Hill leads at -1. Nico a close second at pardon me, I screwed that up. Austin Hill leads at -4. Nico is just -1 and has a couple strokes to make up to compete. Keegan is well behind, but still in the game. And here you see the other competitors in the same division. We'll see a little shake-up with the cards in the final round. Very exciting. Glad to be here again. I'm thrilled to have so many people here, juniors, out enjoying this course. Looking forward to the next round. And Nico, great job today. Lovely to watch you play some disc golf. You played very well, and very fun to be here in the booth with you talking about disc golf.
Thank you, Gabe.